Come on in, you guys. We're getting ready to start another Jimmy on Clubhouse. Today I have a great topic, the do's and don'ts of keto. Going to be doing this topic with my bud Ben Azadi from Keto Camp over on Clubhouse. And so if you're kind of brand new to the rebranding here on this page, we used to call this Jimmy Rants. So those of you, hello Cindy Lou, those of you that are here and you're watching this either live or on the replay, you're used to seeing my show Jimmy Rants. I did that for a couple of years there, enjoyed the format, but now there's this new social media app called Clubhouse. Currently, Clubhouse is only for iPhones and other Apple devices, and then it's also by invitation only. They're trying to slow the growth so they don't grow too fast. And so it's not open to the public just yet on a widespread scale. So we go live here on Jimmy on Clubhouse. I rebranded Jimmy Rants to Jimmy on Clubhouse so that you guys can take a peek in at what's happening over on the Clubhouse page. So I'm a part of this group, and you can see it on the screen there, called Keto for the Soul. So this lady right here is Judy, and she's the one that created the page. And so I've been doing a lot of interviews there and a lot of the things I used to do on Jimmy Rants. So yesterday I did a whole kind of dissertation of a study that recently came out. Go check that out here on IGTV on Jimmy on Clubhouse. And just like Jimmy Rants, all of these also are over on YouTube. So if you'd prefer to watch on YouTube, just type a keyword Jimmy on Rants over Jimmy on Clubhouse, on YouTube, and you will find the show. See, I still have Jimmy Rants on the mind. I did that show for 2.5, 3 years. So it was time to shift gears and try this Clubhouse thing. If you get a chance, get on Clubhouse. It is a very loving group. If you're frustrated by social media, traditional social media, there's so much hate and negativity, and I have seen nothing but positivity and connection. As you will see, it's kind of like a Zoom call in audio form, and you have a bunch of people all come on and just kind of jibber jabber. So I moderate these and do kind of a podcasting interview format, and then we have live people interacting with the content. So I invite you as well. Hello, Cariana and BZLDG. Thank you for being here as well. We're going to get started here on Clubhouse, and feel free to engage in the content. Cariana says, if we get on Clubhouse, we need an invitation to the group. No, go type in keto. There's only 2 keto groups on Clubhouse right now. Keto for the Soul. So there it is, Keto for the Soul. That's where I hang out the most. There's another group also called the Keto Diet, and they've got a great group as well. Both of them are wonderful, and there's a lot of people that aren't in any group and just doing keto content. So I chose to hitch my wagon to Keto for the Soul. They have a nice vibe in there, and so that's why I stay in there. So yeah, if you go on Clubhouse, definitely come find me. I'm living low-carb man there, as I am everywhere on social media. Okay, guys, it's 10:30. I need to get this show on the road, so let's start the room. Come on in, guys. We are getting ready to have a wonderful, wonderful conversation with my bud, Ben Azadi. What's up, Ben?
Mr. Jimmy Moore.
Big Ben. Ben in the house.
Hey, Jimmy.
Yeah, so we're going to let people assimilate into the room. I see all the usual suspects are here so far. Thank you guys for coming in. I got my good bud, Ben Azadi, here today, you guys. If you're not familiar with Ben is from this brand called Keto Camp. And like, what do you not do with Keto Camp? I've seen videos, I've seen podcasts, you write a lot. You just do an amazing job with Keto Camp. So guys, if you're not following Ben, click on his profile, follow him here on Clubhouse, but more importantly, go follow him on all the socials. It's at the bottom of his bio, the Ben Azadi, Azadi. Is how you find him over on Instagram. That's where I see you most active. Is that where you're most active?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on there. Also on my YouTube channel. But yeah, all over the place, like you said, Jimmy.
Yeah, you hit a milestone with YouTube recently. How many downloads or something, right?
Yeah, 118,000 subscribers and over 5 million downloads on the videos.
That is amazing, dude. And in a very short period of time. So congratulations on that.
Thank you, Jimmy. You're an inspiration to me, man, and I always appreciate your amazing support. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And so we're going to go over a topic today, you guys, that both Ben and I can wax eloquently on for hours and hours. But it's all the do's and don'ts of keto. And I almost even hate putting it that way, Ben, because I think we like to make rules and regulations when it comes to keto. But I think you'll agree, keto's not really about having rules per se, but there are some hard and fast do's and some hard and fast don'ts. So why don't you start with like a big do, but first let me set the room. So this is Keto for the Soul, you guys. Hit that little green Monopoly box at the top. Everybody calls that a Monopoly house. I guess it does look like the little house on Monopoly. I want the hotel. That's a big old red thing, yeah. But click on that green house up there next to Keto for the Soul. My bud Judith is here. Judith, can you say hi? Nope, she's at work. So
she's at work, yeah.
Yeah, so she's flashing to let us know she's working. But thank you guys for being here. Keto for the Soul. Definitely go follow Ben and me and all the interviews that we do here. I'm also simulcasting over here on my Instagram page, the all-new Jimmy on Clubhouse over on Instagram. Not everybody can get on Clubhouse, so I try to bring in the vibe of Keto for the Soul to my Instagram people over there. So hello, Kelly and Guy and Cariana and Cindy Lou. Lots of people coming in over there as well. You guys feel free to engage in the work. By the way, this is being recorded there. And if you miss any of this, if you come in late, any of my rooms that you see the REC at the top that you miss, go check out IGTV on Jimmy on Clubhouse on Instagram or on YouTube. Just look up Jimmy on Clubhouse on YouTube. I post all the content there. But Ben, what are some of these big do's? And let's camp out. Let's keto camp out in some of those to go with your branding. What is the big do that you think not enough people know about?
Yeah, and thank you for the awesome introduction, Jimmy. I love the work that you're doing. You're an amazing human being, first and foremost. So thank you so much. I love and appreciate you, brother.
Thank you. Back at you.
And great idea with the recording. I love that because so many people have been messaging me saying, I don't have an iPhone. How do I get on Clubhouse? I need an invite. So I love that you're doing that. You're just such a servant. So thank you, and I'm inspired by that.
Thank you.
So when it comes to keto technically is not a diet. It's a metabolic process.
Right.
And if you could just really understand how the body works, the metabolism at the cellular level, then you're going to be really empowered to apply it the right way so your body could heal. So it's a double-edged sword, right? Ketosis, keto diet, whatever you want to call it. It's so popular nowadays, and which is great. A lot of people are getting access to this information. They're learning about it. They're learning why sugar and carbs are so bad. But the double-edged sword, the opposite end, is that there's a lot of bad information there on keto and how to do it and get amazing results. So when I teach it and how you teach it, Jimmy, is focusing on the cells, the hormones, the cell membrane. So the number one thing I've seen people do it wrong, the wrong way to, technically they'll get in ketosis this way, but not actually heal the body, is just eating the wrong fats that are keto-friendly fats, but they're very unstable fats for the cell membrane. And that's very important to understand because the cell membrane is the bodyguard of your 70 trillion cells. It's a lipid bilayer, lipid meaning fat. It's made of at least 50% fat, protein, saturated fat, and cholesterol, that word cholesterol, right, Jimmy?
Yep.
And we want healthy fats to support that membrane. And when we talk about fats, they're not all created equal. So I interviewed a gentleman named Brian Peskin, who's an MIT researcher. He wrote a book called The PEO Solution. He's been on my podcast a couple times. The first time, he was here in Miami, where I live, and we were doing a live recording, also having lunch. And I asked him, hey, Brian, according to your research, what do you think is worse, smoking cigarettes each day or eating these bad rancid fats? And he said, well, according to the research, if you smoked 2 packs of cigarettes every single day for up to 28 years, your chances of developing lung cancer within those 28 years is about 16%, 1/6. But then he said, if you ate these bad fats, and I'll give an entire list soon, if you ate these bad fats every single day for up to 28 years, your chances of developing any cancer and or heart disease was about 86%.
Yeah.
Oh, yikes, Jimmy. I know you speak about this often.
Because of the inflammation factor, right?
because of the inflammation. It inflames the cell. The body cannot use it. It gunks up the cell membrane, and then it blocks your hormones, your fat-burning hormones, your feel-good hormones. So it's kind of like me unplugging or hitting the mute button. I'm trying to communicate to you, but you can't hear me. We're going to be frustrated. So when you have inflammation, it's the same thing with your hormones. I asked Dr. Kay Shanahan that same question.
Yep.
Who wrote, you know who she is.
She hates vegetable oils, yes.
Yeah, exactly. She's a leading authority in speaking about these vegetable oils. And I say, I asked her if her research lines up with Brian Peskin's. And she said, well, actually, Ben, it's closer to about 100% of somebody developing disease when you eat these bad fats.
And yet, look at all the foods that have these oils in them. And I know you're about to give us a list, but almost every packaged food has some form, and even the so-called keto foods like nuts and things like that, they're roasted in these very oils that we know are bad for us.
Yeah, they're all over. They're ubiquitous.
You might as well roast them in shit.
Yeah.
Actually, that would be healthier than some of these oils.
It will, because the shit doesn't stay around as long as these oils do. You know, it's been predicted that these oils gunk up the cells for about 6 to 12 months, meaning if you remove them today, 4 months from now, you're still dealing with the effects of those oils. So it's going to take some consistency here. I don't want to say that to discourage you, but I'm saying that because it takes years, not months, to achieve optimal health.
It does worse than that. It becomes a part of your fat on your body. And so people forget about what you eat. You know, you are what you eat. It really is true that if your body starts storing body fat, these omega-6 fats from these vegetable oils, which we're going to give you a list here in a second, they actually become a part of that adipose tissue, so that when you start to lose weight, maybe you feel bad. People are like, oh no, keto made me feel bad. No, you're finally getting rid of all those old oils that have been stored up in your body for years.
So true. So important to understand that. So let's go through the list of oils that we want to avoid. And I recommend, for those of you listening, well, thank you for joining us today. Me, Jimmy, and I are so grateful that you chose time out of your day to spend with us, because that's something you don't get back, and we want to make sure this is great information for you. So please grab a pen and paper or open up your notes tab on your phone and do an audit, today, in your kitchen. What are you giving your children? Are these in your keto-friendly foods? And here's the list of the bad fats on keto: canola oil, corn oil, soybean oil, cottonseed oil, rice bran oil, grapeseed oil, safflower oil, and sunflower oil. Now, the last two, sunflower and safflower, those could be healthy if they're organic cold pressed, but they're typically not.
Yeah.
So those are the bad fats we want to avoid. Those are very unstable fats. They inflame your cells. Instead, we want these stable fats that are healthy and healing to your body, healing to your cells, which are going to be avocado oil is great, olive oil is great, coconut oil, grass-fed butter, grass-fed ghee, duck fat. These are much stable fats that are better for the
lard.
Lard as well, yeah.
Tallow. Yeah, we could go down the list of all the... I think we all know the good fats because we're all using them in our diet. MCT oil would be another one that would be thrown in there.
Correct.
So as far as bad oils, it's a little bit borderline with things like peanut oil.
Yeah, peanut oil is not the worst, but it's not the best. So
right.
you want to limit the peanut oil and make sure you don't get it heated as high as possible.
Yes.
But another thing to speak about, Jimmy, I actually just recorded a podcast this morning, right before I hopped off here. 3 reasons why keto stopped working. And one of the tips was that it was this clean keto versus dirty keto concept. But I talked about smoke point. When we look at, when you go on Google, Dr. Google, or look at articles, they're always talking about smoke point.
Yes.
Which is not the full picture, because actually canola oil could have a high smoke point. But what's more important is that what these polar compounds, they're called. So the byproducts that are produced after they're heated.
Yes.
And there was a great study, I don't know if you saw it, from Australia, where they took the top 10 most popular cooking oils, a lot of the ones I listed today, healthy and unhealthy oils, and they heated them at different temperatures for different lengths. And they wanted to see how many of these polar compounds it produced. The more polar compounds, the more carcinogenic, the more oxidative, the more inflammatory it is to the body. No surprise, the ones that produced the most amount of polar compounds were the bad ones that I listed. But the surprising thing about the study was the best oil on there that produced the least amount was actually extra virgin olive oil.
Yes.
Meaning you could actually use real olive oil to cook with, even though it has a lower smoke point. It's so protective because of the antioxidant profile that it's a great cooking oil as well.
And all of these oils that you listed on that list, which by the way, if you missed the list, go back and listen to the replay because it's going to be invaluable. But like, they don't even talk about rancidity of these fats. And think about it, you guys. It's in the center aisles. It's one big long aisle full of Wesson, corn oil, and like every imaginable oil. Now, the good news is because of keto's popularity in recent years, we are now starting to see coconut oil and some of these other oils, avocado oil, olive oil, come to play. But even within the subset of these healthier ones, Ben, we do know that some of these companies play the game with olive oil where they kind of cut them a little bit with some of these seed oils. So you have to be careful, make sure country of origin is one, like Italy or California, so that you don't get caught in this trap of, well, Ben and Jimmy said olive oil was healthy, but it got cut with some seed oils.
Oh, so true. Here's how you know, by the way. You can do an olive oil taste test.
It
right
burns.
Now. You can grab your olive oil, take a shot of it. If it goes down smooth, that's actually a big red flag. You want your olive oil to make your throat burn, make your tongue fuzzy, maybe even make you cough. That's a good sign.
Do you know, I found that out when I went to Italy a couple of years ago. I got the great opportunity with Maria Emmerich to go to Italy, and they took us to one of the Italian olive oil places, and they said the same thing. Do a little shot glass and just hold it, and then swallow, and then if it burns, did it burn? It felt like it felt like a fire on my throat, dude.
That's the good stuff. Yeah, that's what you want.
Yes.
It's rich in polyphenols. It's probably first harvest pressed. And another important point is that when you go to restaurants, going back to the bad oils, most restaurants, I would estimate that 98% of restaurants use the bad oils.
Yes.
Because they're very cheap. So what I do, I know you do something similar, and this drives my girlfriend nuts, although now she's kind of aligned with me on this process.
Yes.
But I always ask the waiter or waitress, hey, what oil do you cook with? And they're going to say canola or soybean.
Yes.
Or some sort of toxic oil. And then I'll say, hey, I'm allergic to those oils, and you got to say that word, allergic, because then they'll pay attention. You don't want to just say, I don't like those oils, but I'm allergic. Can you use olive oil? Can you use butter? Can you use something else? And most of the time they have that, but you got to make sure you ask them if it is olive oil, do you cut that with anything? Because sometimes they cut it, like to your point, Jimmy.
Oh, I do the same thing when I'm on cruise ships. I see them making breakfast and cooking eggs, and they'll spray the spray stuff in there, which is just vegetable oils in aerosol form. And I'll always go grab about 3 or 4 pats of butter off the bar and say, okay, will you clean out the vegetable oil in there, use this to cook my eggs in? And yeah, you just have to be better, which is why we're both about home cooking as much as possible.
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. But, when you're out, sometimes you don't have that luxury. So you just got to ask the question. It's uncomfortable at first, and your friends might think you're weird. But think about it. It's worth it, because one plate of food that is cooked in these vegetable oils will result in months of inflammation in your body. So just taking less hits, that's what it's really about. When you look at the best athletes in the world who have blessed, the stages of different sports, Wayne Gretzky, Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, etc., what do towards the second half of their career? They start to take less hits so they can extend their career. So that's what we want to do here in life. We want to take less hits so we can live a longer, healthy life.
And if you eat some of the standard American food out there, almost all of it has some derivative of these bad fats that we're talking about here today. And it's not the omega-6 totally. You need some omega-6. It's still an essential fatty acid, but you kind of need to counterbalance that with omega-3 fats, getting, fish oil and fish and other things to get those.
Yeah, well, I would recommend eating the fish and not actually taking the fish oil, because that actually could be one of the bad ones too.
Oh, yeah, fish oil. Oh, thank you for bringing that up. And I'm glad we're doing a lot of these do's and don'ts of little nuances of keto, because you're right. If you get fishy burps after taking a fish oil supplement, either in liquid or pill form, that's a sign of rancidity too, and it's just as bad as those seed oils when it comes to the rancidness.
Yeah, it is, and Dr. Kay Shanahan talks about that. But even if you... So here's the estimation that 83% of fish oil supplements are rancid on the shelf before you even purchase it. But let's say you get the best brand in the world of fish oil. So it's that 17% pristine, it has astaxanthin, whatever is in there. Even if it's protected and it's not rancid when you consume it, well, guess what? When it hits your stomach acid, your body is very warm, 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. Fish oil needs to be around 40 degrees. So it actually turns rancid in the body. and it's not being used really full. I'm not a fan of fish oil at all. I think we should not take it at all. But here's another problem. A lot actually overdosing on fish oil. The brain, when you look at EPA and DHA, the brain requires about 7.5 milligrams of EPA and DHA every single day.
Yep.
And let's double that just for like the rest of the body. So let's say 14 milligrams on average the body needs per day. Well, one fish oil capsule has 1 gram, and people are taking 1, 2, 3, 4 per day, and they're actually getting an omega-3 dominance, which is actually a problem because what it does, it pushes out a part of your something that protects your mitochondrial membrane called the cardiolipin.
Yep.
And it actually creates a new problem. So I don't want to get too science here and confuse people, but the point is this: fish oil is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it actually does more harm than good.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up. I know a lot of people, they hear, oh, I need to take fish oil. My doctor's promoting it for heart health. I've got a neurologist that says I need to take krill oil in order to help with my brain health. So there's all these messages out there. So thank you for dropping some knowledge about that.
Absolutely.
We're going to reset the room now. You are in Keto for the Soul. Click on that little green house at the top right next to the name of the room. And subscribe. We have shows that go on all day long. Jimmy Moore likes to interview people because that's what I do. And I love doing that here on Keto for the Soul. I'm also simulcasting over on the Jimmy on Clubhouse Instagram page. If you miss any part of this, maybe you came in late to this room and you missed the first part, you can go watch the replay on IGTV over on Jimmy on Clubhouse. That's the username over on Instagram. We also put these up over on YouTube. Just type in a keyword Jimmy on Clubhouse, you'll find it there. We're trying to innovate, Ben. Nobody that I know of is doing what I'm doing right now with these Clubhouse interviews.
I'm inspired. I'm really impressed by it. I think it's brilliant.
So let's get back into this. And guys, go ahead and hit the hand at the bottom if you want to come up. But Ben and I could, like I said, wax eloquently for hours. But I hope you're enjoying the conversation so far. Raise your hand if you want to come up and join in on the conversation. So we went over a whole lot of the do's and don'ts regarding kind of fats. Why don't we shift over to proteins? Because I think this might be a controversial one. Because one of the things that comes up in the community is grass-fed and grass finished versus grain fed and finished. Is there any kind of do's and don'ts around that?
Well, first of all, I want to share that I was just in Sarasota this past weekend. I think you saw some of my videos.
Yep.
I was with Dr. John Lawrence. You saw the video I did with my lower back pain.
Yes.
In his clinic, he had a stack of Keto Clarity books that he sells to his patients.
Oh, that's cool.
And I went to Barnes & Noble's and I saw the Keto Clarity books, Complete Guide to Fasting. And I was like, Jimmy, crushing it. I love seeing that.
That's cool.
So I just wanted to share that. So protein is so important for so many reasons. And first of all, do the best you can with your budget. I understand everybody has different circumstances, but ideally you want to eat quality animal protein. Animal protein is far superior than plant protein. It's a complete protein. But what protein will do for you, it'll help you feel full and satisfied. It'll help activate satiety hormones like leptin, peptide YY, cholecystokinin. So it helps you feel full, prevents you from snacking, prevents you from breaking keto. Grass-fed, grass-finished beef is the way to go, and wild-caught seafood. You definitely want quality animal protein because you are what you eat, but you're also what you ate, and you're what you eat stress, meaning
yes.
If you contribute with your money to animals that are tortured, there's going to be more animals that will be tortured. So you do vote with your fork. But secondly, when you eat an animal that has been stressed out, especially a chicken. Chickens are actually the dirtiest animals on the planet, meaning they live a terrible life when they're caged. They're pumped full of antibiotics. A great story, Jimmy. I was interviewing Dr. Zach Bush last year, and he was sharing about a patient he had in the past when he used to do one-on-one patient work. And he had a patient who was always getting an anxiety attack in the afternoon, and he wanted to figure out why. Why is she getting these panic attacks? So he would ask her, what would you eat for lunch? And she would always eat a chicken salad sandwich every single day, of course, from a dirty chicken. And what ended up happening, and this is the way he explained it, that chicken was in a cage with no room to roam, pumped full of antibiotics. It was screaming out, help me, save me. It was stressed out, and that stress produce specific micro RNA in this chicken's body.
Yes.
They kill the chicken. Now they put it in a chicken salad. We eat it, and we inherit the stress. And that was the chicken screaming out the RNA from the chicken with this patient, and it resulted in anxiety attacks. Isn't that crazy?
See, people don't even think about the hormonal effects of the animals we eat. It does matter, you guys. Like, that's so fascinating to me, but it's not surprising. But a lot of people that are brand new to this, it's shocking because they're just like, well, wait a minute, I'm just trying to get protein in. Now I got to care about the animal and how it was raised. Yes, you do, if you care about your health.
Yeah, there's different levels to this. You start with where you are, and then you just build from there.
That's right.
It's a lifelong journey here.
Don't beat yourself up is what you're saying, yes.
Yeah, don't beat yourself up. Sometimes when I talk about, eating clean animal products, I do get the comments, I'm sure you do as well, and you're like, oh, that'd be nice if you could afford it, right?
Right.
I have a budget. And I say, hey, do the best you can, but also when you practice intermittent fasting, you save that money, and then you could use that extra money on quality sources of food when you are eating. I did the math, by the way. If you were just to practice intermittent fasting 5 days a week, meaning you just skip breakfast Monday through Friday, you would save $3,900 a year, and you would get back 4.5 days worth of time just by practicing fasting.
Wow. Yeah. Go buy the grass-fed, grass-finished at that point.
Exactly, dude. So that's some way to do it. But yeah, protein is important. I'm glad you asked the question.
Oh, I got to follow up. I got to follow up on protein because it's not just the quality of the protein, it's also the quantity. There's kind of this debate of should you have a lot more protein? Should you make it a 1-to-1 ratio with fat? Should you make the preponderance of your diet fat and with moderate protein? Is there a do and don't there?
Yeah, there is. So the way that I wrote it in my book that's coming out, Keto Flex, which Jimmy wrote an amazing excerpt for the book, by the way. The way that I teach it is when you're first starting keto, so somebody who's brand new, I actually like focusing more on fat the first 21 days, just to get your body familiar with burning fatty acids and for fuel instead of glucose. So the first 14, 21 days, you're focusing mostly on fat, moderate protein, and then low carbs. But after that, once you're in ketosis and you bypass things like the keto flu, hopefully you didn't get the keto flu, then I like prioritizing protein as the main thing of the meal. Getting about 40 to 50 grams of animal protein at the minimum of your keto meals, and then filling the rest with fat, and then only enough fat so that you're satiated, because your body could get fat from those food calories, or it could get fat from your body fat, butt, hips, and thighs.
And it's usually the fat that comes naturally with that animal. I think people try to overthink it. Wait, I need to make it the priority protein, so they run out and get chicken breast. Well, that's not kind of a natural ability of having a mix of fats and proteins. So get a sirloin steak, for example. That's a pretty good ratio of protein to fat.
Exactly. Or leave the skin on the chicken breast if you can.
Yes, exactly.
So 40 to 50 grams, that's about 8 to 10 ounces of protein. I think that should be the bare minimum. And people always ask the question, but isn't too much protein going to knock me out of ketosis? Should we talk about that, Jimmy?
Yeah, go.
So according to Gabrielle Lyon's research, every 100 grams of protein converts to about 60 grams of glucose in the body. So that's gluconeogenesis. So you might look at that and think, if I'm eating all this protein, will that glucose kick me out of ketosis? Well, not most of the time, actually, because if you're in ketosis, then your glycogen stores are pretty low. They're depleted, which is your sugar reserves. And that glucose from the protein, it's actually just going to be used to refill that. So it should keep you in ketosis. It shouldn't knock you out of there, but it's going to help you feel satisfied. So I do like to prioritize protein.
Yes. Yeah, protein is good. I think we had this weird kind of moment there for a few years where people were vilifying protein. I'm like, guys, it's called essential amino acids for a reason. Essential means your body can't make it. So if you don't eat it, where, pray tell, do you think you're going to get it from?
Exactly. There's no such thing as essential carbs, is there, Jimmy?
No, there's not. But let's move to carbs. Since we've already hit fats, we've already hit proteins. Let's move to carbohydrates because, quite frankly, those have been vilified as well. It is a low-carb diet, but it's not necessarily, some people might prefer it, the carnivore people prefer it, but it's not necessarily a zero-carb diet. So what's the do's and don'ts on carbs?
The general rule of thumb is that if you can keep your total carbs below 50 grams and get those 50 grams from like green leafy vegetables and non-starchy vegetables, then you'll be in ketosis with, increasing your protein and fat to make sure you're satisfied. Some people need to go a little bit more strict and drop it below 20. Some people could actually have more flexibility and have about like 80 grams a day and still be in ketosis. But carbs, carbs are not the bad guy. I just think if you have the wrong carbs and too frequently, then it turns out to be a bad thing. So it depends on your level of health. If you have insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, you got to be more disciplined. But if you're active and you have already metabolic flexibility, then there's more wiggle room there. So I intentionally have higher carb days, still low carb, when you compare it to standard American diet. But I have these what's called keto flex days. But
Yes.
I've done the work, right? I have the metabolic flexibility to do this, where I'll intentionally have about 100 and 150 grams of carbs, get out of ketosis, and then flex right back in. So there's different ways to do it. When it comes to carbs, they're not all created equal. You want the carbs that are going to create lower glycemic responses, green leafy vegetables, some non-starchy vegetables. Those are going to be better for you.
Well, and there's even an argument to feed the gut microbiome with appropriate kinds of fibers as well. And so that's something that's not really talked about a lot. Do you put that in Keto Flex as well?
Yeah, I talk about the BHB component, the butyrate component to feeding the gut, and how, in the gut, you want to make sure you have a vast array of beneficial bacteria. And if you eat the same foods over and over, you get a decrease. So yeah, I do touch upon that a little bit in the book.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to reset the room. Once again, you are in Keto for the Soul. Click on that little greenhouse at the very top, and you can join this wonderful group from Judith and the gang here. I hang out here all day long, so I do my thing here. I interview interesting people. I've done this for over 15 years, interviewing, and so got a lot of contacts, a lot of people coming up here in the coming weeks, but I also break down studies and things. So thank you guys for being here today. If you'd like to participate in the conversation, come up on the main stage with us. Definitely click on that hand down there at the bottom and raise your hand. We will bring you up. But I have the wonderful Ben Azadi on today. You may know him from Keto Camp. You've become a juggernaut, dude, with all the great work you're doing. I see your mentor is in the audience down there. My bud Sean Croxton came to support
Sean.
you. Sean's going to actually be on the show tomorrow talking about health entrepreneurialism. So I look forward to having him on tomorrow. But yeah, you have built something incredible, and your book Keto Flex set to come out April?
Yeah, it's going to be out in April. Pre-order will be available soon.
Excellent. So yeah, go check out Ben. Ben knows his stuff. Ben don't play with this information.
Well, I learned from you, Jimmy. You're one of the greats out there. Jimmy Moore has been in the space. He's one of the keto OGs. I mean, your book Keto Clarity back in 2013 is what opened the door for me to just start understanding about this great land of ketosis. So thank you for the acknowledgement, but I acknowledge you right back. I mean, you're doing such work out there. And Sean Croxton as well.
Yes.
I love Sean. Sean is actually the brains behind the Keto Camp branding. He was somebody who helped me develop that. So I love Sean so much.
Yeah, Sean and I are OG. It just stands for old guys. So love you, Sean.
Love you too, Sean.
So let's get to some ancillary do's and don'ts, because a lot of times when we think keto, we think the fats and the carbs and the proteins like we have, but there's more that's involved in keto. I think stress management is a key component. I think movement is a key component. Talk about some of those other things.
Yeah, you got to exercise before you exercise. You got to really develop a strong relationship with thoughts that you think, and Sean Croxton teaches this better than most people, but our thoughts are so important. You can't heal, Dr. Will Cole says this all the time, you can't heal a body that you hate. I would take it a step further and say you can't heal a body that has any hate, because it's a universal law that states whatever you feed energy to expands. So if you're having toxic thoughts, resentment, anger, you're going to get more of that, and it actually can create inflammation in your body. And if you want the science behind that, go listen to the book or read the book, The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. He has shown negative thoughts create specific sound waves that penetrate your cells and membrane and tell your DNA to produce specific proteins that can lead to disease. Just with your thoughts. And the average person thinks about 60,000 thoughts a day, and most of those thoughts are just autopilot thoughts. They're just the subconscious mind is running the show, and it's typically what we have developed during the first 7 years of life. So I think it's so important, Jimmy, I'm glad you brought this up because I love talking about this. It's so important to practice love, to practice gratitude. That word gratitude right there is a superpower, because what we appreciate appreciates. So just having a habit of gratituding, meaning you just every single morning, maybe you grab a pen and paper and write down what you're grateful for, or before bed, that is healing to the body. And then practicing self-love, practicing loving other people, getting really conscious with those 60,000 thoughts. When you think a negative thought, when you think, oh, I can't do keto, or I'm always going to be overweight, or whatever negative thought you have, let it pass. Acknowledge it, say thank you. Wayne Dyer says, look at it like a cloud, let it pass, and then choose a better thought. And that's our greatest power right there, to choose better thoughts. And the better you get at that, your life is going to change. Ketosis, fasting, carnivore, whatever you're doing will upgrade by default. But if you're not doing that and you're doing keto perfectly, it's going to be very hard to get the results you want. I know, Jimmy, you're huge on practicing self-love and gratitude. You're a perfect example of how to use this tool.
The older I've got, I realize that's such a key component of this whole keto journey. Like, I think we put such a hyper focus on just the diet aspect of things that we miss the forest for the trees. I think there's so many more nuances to stress management and other things that go into making that food work best in your body, that if you're not mindful of those things, how can you possibly think the diet's going to change your body?
So true, Jimmy. It's not a sexy topic, right? Grabbing a piece of paper and writing down what you're grateful for. But I promise you, the more consistent you are with it, oh my gosh, it'll just change your life. I can tell you this. I have probably over 20 notepads, these college-ruled notepads, just filled with gratitude and goals. I haven't missed a single day in almost 5 years of writing down what I'm grateful for and writing down my goals. And it's no coincidence that I'm getting healthier each year. I'm happier. I'm more successful. So that's a huge component to my life.
Absolutely. Well, Ben, we have a wonderful group of people up here on stage. I admire most of the people up here. No, I admire all of the people up here.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to make you think, okay, who does he not admire? So, no, I love you all. Judith, I know you're working, so I'm going to skip over you, but thank you for being here. I'm going to take a shot at it. Dr. Almurashid, you're up first. What you got for us?
Hi, everyone. Yes, Dr. Almurashid from Saudi Arabia.
Hello.
Well, I'm enjoying your talk, and I do have interest in keto. So I'm wondering, just as people who are have expertise in keto diet, because I'm a dermatologist, not a dietitian. So, do you do keto with few carbs, or it's not possible? Because as a dermatologist, we have some problems in skin arise from purely keto diet. So is it okay? Because I face some patients and I advise them to eat some carbs, but they feel disappointed that they ruin their diet. So I would like to hear from you.
So I'm curious about the skin thing, because Ben, my experience, at least the people that I've seen over the years and interviewed, skin conditions get better when you go true ketogenic and get into a state of nutritional ketosis. So what would be the mechanism that there would be skin issues?
Yeah, it's a rare condition. It comes with some of it looks like acne-like in the body, and some of them it's itchy, rash, prurigo. And it happens not for all the patients, few patients.
I wonder.
And I do agree with losing weight and controlling your diet helps in many other conditions. But some people are affected, not all of them.
Yeah. I wonder if it's a reaction to the insulin, because when you first start, insulin doesn't normalize. You kind of have to let this go over time, right, Ben? And over time, that insulin would help improve the skin health. So it's fascinating to me that would be a contraindication. Although I do know that there is a way to include carbohydrates. I know when I was in the paleo world, they used to talk about doing ketogenic, but not in a carbohydrate restricted state. They would do higher doses of coconut oil and MCT oil, kind of precursors to ketosis. And now we have exogenous ketones and ketone esters. That could be a way that you could get some of the benefits of ketosis even while maintaining higher carb counts. Does that help, doctor?
Yeah. So it's possible to lose weight?
I mean, it's going to be on a personalized basis. Do you have anything in your plan, Ben, for anybody that wants to flex maybe higher carb and yet still get the benefits?
Yeah, I do, and thanks, Doc, for the question. So here's what I've seen with skin. I want to touch upon that real quick. Usually, when you do keto the right way and you're getting good sleep, getting plenty of quality collagen, there is an improvement, huge improvement with the skin. But when I've seen the opposite, a couple of reasons. Number one, they're eating the bad fats that we spoke about, Jimmy. They're eating these inflammatory fats that are keto, but they're not healthy. And number two, a release in toxins, right? We know when we start shrinking fat cells, we release toxins. And somebody who's really toxic could see this result in some skin issues. Or they're eating a whole bunch of high oxalate keto foods like almonds and raw spinach, which also could create some skin issues. I've seen that. But yeah, carbohydrates. So there's many ways to get into ketosis. Jimmy just outlined some brilliant ways there. MCTs, exogenous ketones. Intermittent fasting is a good way to get into ketosis. The way that I teach it in Keto Flex is in the first 60 days, 60, you are being disciplined, you're strict, you're getting into ketosis, you're reversing a lot of the things you might be dealing with. And then we start flexing. And that just means 1 or 2 days per week, higher healthy carbs, carbs that are like fruits, yams, sweet potato, yucca, to actually help it become more sustainable, but also the insulin can help do some cool things there. So you can do it that way, or you could just do a lower carb version of keto. That's not necessarily a ketogenic like macro approach, but if you pair a low carb approach, which is kind of paleo, with intermittent fasting, you should be able to go in and out of ketosis that way too.
And I would think, doctor, as well, that we would want to pick a goal. Like, is the goal weight loss, or is the goal clearing up the skin? If it's both, then a lot of the strategies Ben just outlined would be helpful. But if it's truly trying to clear skin, then I think you pick your poison.
Yeah, but I mean, as a dermatologist, the patient or the client is seeking my help to improve the skin. I mean, when side effects happen, but I do agree that losing weight is most of the clients or the patients, they aim for losing weight. So I feel like I want to help them, but not to ruin their plan.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for contributing to this conversation. Really appreciate that.
And one more thing.
Yes, sir.
We do treat with other like medicines, but I mean, I like it as a helpful intervention to add some carbs because it's just from the literature. But we do prescribe some medicine like doxycycline, some of the medicines, and it really helps as well.
Yeah, thank you for your contribution, and definitely look into the insulinogenic effects on skin health. And I know you've looked at this, but this is why keto is so fascinating for so many people. One of the spontaneous things that people report when they go on a ketogenic diet is their skin clears up, and maybe they had acne before this, and then it clears up. So it would be interesting, as that's your field, to look at some of that literature and know that maybe carbs, you don't need the carbs that maybe you think you do.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you, kind sir. Mary, you're on deck. What you got?
How are you gentlemen today?
Hey.
I actually wanted to say the same thing. I've had a number of people who have started keto come to me and talk about the rash of the skin or whatever, and most of the time it's those icky fats. They're cooking everything in vegetable oil. They think that if they can fry it up in an oil, then that's what's going to be the saving grace of keto.
Yes.
Addressing that. And I think for everybody else, we all hear the lines that, we look like we're aging backwards, or our skin is just, I look at pictures of me side by side from 10, 12 years ago, and my skin's better than it was in my early 20s. And so I think that definitely that those beginning mistakes of the bad fats. And then, we need to add half a sweet potato for a couple days as we continue to step down those carbs in the very beginning for usually the skin rash situation. But once our bodies are moving and grooving, it's amazing what they're capable of. All that stuff's coming back out. It's starting that detox process.
Moving and grooving. I love it.
Okay.
First, go.
Sorry, Jimmy.
No, I was saying moving and grooving. I love it. What you got for us?
I love what Ben talked about. For me, it was the Psycho-Cybernetics book 15 years ago, but really understanding what our thoughts are capable of. And, you know, I know that not everybody loves Brene Brown because she's a quantitative researcher versus a qualitative researcher. But after 20 years of doing research on people who are living in a wholehearted space and are able to be, you know, shame resilient, it's not that they deal with anything less than the average person. Is that she said all of the factor within them is that they practice gratitude. Like the people that she sees who are able to overcome these huge things that happen in our lives, it's the practice of gratitude. And so to put it that way, Ben, I really appreciate hearing that, because it's something that's so necessary and is just such a beautiful piece that I think so many of us are missing in our day-to-day lives, and not understanding why it feels like others are able to overcome in a way that we can't. I have a really silly question, I think.
There's no silly thing. Go. What you got?
I only because I'm like, if you tell me that this is what I should buy, I'm on Amazon in 2 seconds. I have a hard time at this stage. So Ben, I'm almost 3 years into keto. I've lost 115 pounds. I didn't work out for 106 of them. I don't use any extras. But one thing I had gotten used to about the last couple months, and I kind of started to get back to where I was really cooking with spam on seeing some differences in my body, is I started putting protein in my coffee in the morning. And so I was using like a protein shake, taking 5 tablespoons in every cup of coffee. I put that in there, and I was able to add in protein that way, because I'm getting to the point that with my eating window and with how much my body has changed, I just am having a hard time getting my food in and getting my protein in, especially. So if I drink my fat and my protein, it makes it a lot easier with my coffee. And because I just am at the point my stomach can't handle the large quantities of even the good meats I was eating. But I've been, because of Judith's amazing challenge that she set up, both my Quest and my Premier Protein pre-made shakes have sucralose in them. And so I was wondering if you actually have any products that you highly recommend that are high protein products that are actually keto friendly, that are using one of the, Kevin always says same, the 4 sugar alcohols that are actually okay on keto. And if you have any ideas on ways to get that in a different way, just knowing that, I mean, I think as a woman too, I'm just getting to the point that there's only so much I can put in every day.
Okay, I haven't heard SANE as an acronym before. So stevia, allulose, erythritol. What is the N, Kevin?
Monk fruit.
Oh, M, same. I thought you said sane. I was like, I don't know a N sweetener.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm in my office, my husband's office. I'm hiding from my 5 kids.
I got you. Same as SAME. Got it. Monk fruit, yes. Go, Ben.
I love that. Yeah, Kevin, I heard you share that before. I thought it was brilliant. So it's great to put things in like these acronyms. It's really easy to understand. And Mary, yeah, thank you for sharing that. I love what you shared about Brene Brown. I like her work, and the gratitude is so healing to the body. Collagen. I do actually, it's funny that you asked this question, because this morning I actually put in some collagen protein in my coffee, which I typically don't, but I'm doing carnivore right now. I'm on day 10. And I'm finding that I'm eating too little. I'm not hungry, so I wanted to get my protein, so I put it in my coffee. So what I would recommend is, finding a brand that doesn't have sucralose, aspartame. That tends to wreck the gut. I personally use a brand called Systemic Formulas ECM. It's a complex of collagen. It's grass-fed. It's cold-pressed, and I just put a scoop of that in my coffee. Now, keep in mind, that does take you out of a fasted state. So depending on what your goal is, if your goal is to stay fasted and achieve autophagy, then I wouldn't have that. But if your goal is to get in the protein and make sure you're getting enough and not feeling like you're overeating or just forcing yourself to eat, then using a quality protein like that is good. I know Bulletproof makes a good one, and I think they're called Vital Choices also make a good one. I'm sure Jimmy has some recommendations too.
Yeah, you named the ones I like, Vital Proteins. There's also a company called Further Food that makes a really good quality as well. And I love their gelatin that I make electrolyte little gelatin drop things and just cut them into squares. And that's how I get both gelatin for my nail and hair health along with some electrolytes. So yeah, good suggestions. Mary, thank you so much. Kevin, you're up.
Hey. Well,
Hey.
Still having me here.
What's up?
So Mary was asking about the proteins. I would just add organ. So I know those sucralose and a lot of those proteins. So Orgain is another one that's pretty readily available at like a Costco or somewhere. You can just run in there and grab it. That's one of the cleaner ones that I've seen.
Yeah.
Man, well, it's great great conversation, and I would just like to touch on the skin, like just hearing about that. And I know like people talk about the keto rash, and from my experience, it's always been short lived. But I think that what I guess it's not thought about is that the fat is like a protector in a sense. It protects us from falls, it protects us from some of those things, and it also protects us from toxins. And it protects us from toxins because it actually houses them. So the more fat that we have, those cells tend to house the toxins to keep them from getting to other parts of our body. So what happens when we start to lose weight quickly, we're not able to excrete all of the waste that's inside those fat cells fast enough, so it starts to come out of our skin. So it's like the fat cells like, okay, we're trying to get out of the poop, we're trying to get out of the pee, but man, we can't get it all out of this, fast enough. So it says, well, guess we're gonna have to leak through the skin. So that's usually what causes that, and it's usually short-lived from my experience.
Thank you, Kevin. Ben?
I agree with Kevin. Yeah, the body is very smart. I always say you are a masterpiece because you are a piece of a master. You were created so magnificently, and a part of that, a perfect example is what Kevin said. When toxins enter the body from silver amalgam fillings or from cleaning supplies, wherever it is, toxins are everywhere, then the body does not want those toxins to enter the vital organs. It wants to survive, so it activates the PPARY pathway, which shuttles those toxins into the fat. And then, like Kevin said, when you start shrinking fat cells, releasing fat cells into the bloodstream, well, your body could burn fat, but it cannot burn toxins. So you might get things like some skin issues, keto rash. You might not feel good as you start to lose the weight. So it's important to, if that's the case for you, to maybe take some binders, do some things to get the lymphatic system moving, exercise, sweating. Castor oil packs is great. Coffee enemas are great. Eating more bitters. I love bitters for many, many reasons, but this is one of the reasons. Bitters will help your liver stimulate bile. Bile will help break down fat, but it'll also help take some of those toxins and detoxify it. So more bitters on keto are great. Apple cider vinegar, ginger tea, dandelion greens, dandelion tea. Coffee could be a bitter as well. So more bitters could help with that as well. So this is a very important topic because I see a lot of people who do keto who have a sluggish liver or who have a lot of toxicity, and just doing these simple tips makes a big difference.
And activated charcoal as well as EDTA would help clean up some of the toxins too, heavy metals as well.
Yep, great addition, Jimmy. Yep.
Kevin, thank you. Autumn, you're up.
Hey, Jimmy, thanks for having me.
Hey.
Good morning, Ben. So good to talk to you. I actually just went down a YouTube wormhole on a lot of your videos because I came into you mentioning that you are prioritizing protein, like eating higher protein, and I've recently been experimenting with that because I used to, live in the standard, or, up until recently, the standard keto macro 75-25. And so, a lot of my community has been talking about increasing protein, and that's what I've been working on. So I am doing my meal plan for this week coming up, and I put some steak in there. I normally don't eat steak just because I don't make it, but hey, so I put steak in there, and then I was like, I need like some more protein. And one of the things that fit my macros the best was ground beef. And I was like, I like ground beef. And I put this together, it'll give me like 33% protein, it'll put my macros good. But then I was wondering, like, is that too much like beef? So my question to you is, like, when you're prioritizing protein, how important is it to also like prioritize like protein, like differences, like different sorts of protein?
Great question, Autumn. Thank you so much for checking out my YouTube channel, and kudos to you for doing research. I love it. And taking action. That's even more better. So yeah, it's important to mix up your protein sources, because if you eat the same foods over and over and over, you could begin to plateau, and you could actually reduce the diversity in the gut, which is not good. So it's always important to rotate the proteins, have different proteins. Of course, ground beef is great, steak, chicken, beef, duck, whatever you want to do. And also how you cook it is important. We don't want to burn red meat. You don't want to barbecue it, char grill it, and create the blackening of red meat, because what that does, it creates advanced glycation end products, AGEs, which is oxidative. So, you want some red in there. And so what I've seen with protein, a lot of people fear, I personally, look, 2 years ago, if I had this conversation, I would say too much protein will kick you out of ketosis. And then I realized today, and over the years, doing some research and experimentation, that's actually not true for most people. Because although protein will create an insulin response, it's a phase 2 insulin response, not phase 1, which is a lot less insulin being squirted by the pancreas. So, and then you're just gonna, whatever glucose is created from the protein will just refill your glycogen stores. So I think that's fine. What you're doing with the beef, with the steak, I do think it's important to add some other things in there, maybe like some seafood, some eggs. I like rotating foods. Everything in nature is cyclical, and I think we should look at foods the same way.
Can I ask
Awesome, thanks.
You're welcome.
Can I ask a follow-up, Ben? Are you a proponent if you're going to get protein, doing it in the raw form for more bioavailability of the nutrition, or does that matter?
I haven't experimented too much with the raw form unless it's like my organ meat complex capsules that I take.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be done. I know Paul Saladino does it, but you have to know what you're doing. You have to have the enzymes to digest it, so it could end up being something that could hurt you if you don't know. But yes, I agree, Jimmy. If you could digest it and get it in the raw form, of course, it's more bioavailable that way.
You see these people doing it on video on Instagram, and I'm like,
Crazy, yeah. You're not sure how the body will respond to something like that.
Yeah, not for the faint of heart. Autumn, thank you for your questions. Vivica, you're up next.
Good morning, Jimmy. Good morning, Ben.
Hello.
Hey, Vivica. Good to see you.
What's up? So, first of all, well, thank you for having me up here. And I'm sorry, I'm bringing it back for just a second to the skin thing. I think that the toxicity factor is huge as a nutritionist. You know, that's one of the main things that I deal with. And also, as far as helping with that, opening drainage is something that not a lot of practitioners talk about. And this means opening the drainage channels of the body, which is liver and kidney and lymph. And Ben, you did touch on it right at the beginning. I think that that's something that is definitely need to be prioritized, as well as like gallbladder and the fluidity of the bile, which decreases with age in women, because like high estrogen makes our bile thick, and that's not something that a lot of people know. So that combined with all the things you guys said, and also combined, you know, the toxic stuff that we eat, and like the inability for the fats to be emulsified could lead to breakouts in the skin. There is another thing. Sorry, I'm up here in Sedona, and it's up high, and I'm losing my breath. Trying to walk up the hill and talking, not a good idea. The other thing is histamines that I wanted to ask you, Ben. What do you think about that? And also wanted to tie it in with the fact that you're doing carnivore. And like, have you ever encountered people that have histamine issues, and how do they come out when they do keto or carnivore, or they start raising the proteins? And if you ever seen people that will break out, have those kind of breakouts due to histamine intolerance, and what's your take on that?
Yeah, great question, Vivica. And I love what you shared about, you want to open up downstream detox before you start doing any real detox. Dr. Caitlin Zazowski, who's on here, she'll be speaking soon. She's a master at teaching that. She's part of the group I'm with Dr. Pompa. Histamines, so what I've seen with histamines, people who are sensitive to it tend to have leaky gut. So following a carnivore approach could be really beneficial for somebody who gets a histamine reaction with their skin, or maybe they're getting migraines, seasonal allergies. These are all things that are related to the gut. So when I did carnivore the first time for 40 days last year, my skin never looked better. My gut felt better. I lost body fat. My sleep was better. I'm doing it again right now. I'm on day 10, doing at least 30 days with my Keto Camp Academy members, and I'm feeling better already. So we're eliminating a lot of these foods that have histamines, that have anti-nutrients, that oxalates, etc., that poke holes in the gut. And that really improves people who have a histamine reaction. And I've seen that personally. And what about you, Vivica? Have you seen that as well with people who have histamine reactions?
Sorry, unmuting here. I have seen that it really depends. I've seen people having problems with keto when they had a pre-existing histamine sensitivity, but that was also because you need to be really careful about two things. One is the quality of foods that you eat when you have a histamine sensitivity. So you cannot eat a whole bunch of salami every day and expect to not have problems. The other thing is like prioritizing the liver. And, a lot of people in the medical world, let's say, think that once you have a histamine sensitivity, you're kind of doomed with it. I disagree. I think that like everything else, the body can heal. And it's like major liver detox and repair. So using both the products that open up those drainage channels and the product that nourish and feed the liver, like milk thistle, like one is like dandelion versus milk thistle. Dandelion is a drainage opener and detoxifier, and milk thistle nourishes the liver. So I think that, yes, the problem can occur and there are ways to fix it. It happened to me before one time. I was in Switzerland with my parents, and I started eating, like, I had to eat cheese in Italy, of course, even though I'm keto. And I started eating a lot of dried meat, bresaola. It's dried beef. It's amazing, but I ate that every day, and all of a sudden my face blew up, poof, like a balloon, and my eye was shut. I didn't know what was going on, and finally I realized it was the histamines. So, even for a healthy person, I think paying attention to what your body tells you and making sure, I love what you say, Ben, about rotating proteins, rotating foods in general. That's a really big thing that I always tell my patients, like, you need to rotate, because otherwise you'll build up toxicity towards one particular thing.
Oh, and even an allergy. I developed an egg allergy to both the white and the yolk because I have wonderful backyard chickens, Vivica, and I was eating them every day. And over a period of time, I started getting sensitivity tests, and it was like 5 times off the charts. I'm like, oh my God, like even a so-called keto food in excess, monotonous every day, can be too much.
Absolutely. I think the only thing that, maybe not the only thing, but one of the things that are safer regarding to that might be like beef, that, and clean, really, really clean, like ruminant meat can lead to less of that problem. And I would still rotate that. We're not by design. I don't know if you guys read the book Sapiens. I'm like a big fan of that book, but it talks about our evolution and how we evolved from hunter-gatherers and then into agriculture. And it tells a typical diet of a hunter-gatherer. It was like completely different food all day. Like they were picking and hunting, and, we're not supposed to eat the same thing over and over again.
Right. Well, Vivica, thank you. And by the way, you guys, come back at 1 p.m. Eastern. I'll be interviewing Vivica for an upcoming episode of one of my podcasts. We're going to talk about trauma. So excited to talk to you today, Vivica.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you so much, guys. Bye, Ben. Nice to be with you.
Nice to be with you. Vivica's amazing. She was just on my show too, Jimmy. So
yes.
I can't wait to hear that with you and her.
Yes. Ada, you're up next. Ada, bo, beta, banana, nana, go.
Sorry. Always multitasking, working at the same time.
That's all right. What you got?
All right, guys. Disclaimer. I do not advocate for sweeteners. Natural, artificial, none. At least at the very beginning. Okay, that's my disclaimer. But let's talk sucralose for a moment. And you guys touched on that a little bit. I am also very open-minded, and I'm always constantly trying new things, new products. I'm my own guinea pig so that I can make the choices and recommend things to clients, etc. So I found this product because I've been playing around with fiber recently for no particular reason. And I found this really awesome product that has helped me with my high fasting sugar levels. But boy, damn it, it has sucralose in it. So I wonder your thoughts on the dose makes the poison thought process.
Ben?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
That's why I threw it to you, brother.
Yeah, I haven't really looked into the research on, small dose of poison from sucralose, what it does long term. But it's a hit that we're taking. Going back to that analogy I gave, the sports analogy. So it's really just a matter of being okay with taking that hit. It is a hit. It's creating a negative response in your body. But if you're doing so many other things right and you're okay with that small hit, then go for it, right? It's not like you could be perfect all the time. So that's my 2 cents on it. I don't really know the research. Maybe Jimmy does. But I think you got to just be okay with taking that hit and just keep pushing forward.
I mean, a lot of the studies on the artificial sweeteners, which are aspartame, which I call nasty tame, stay away from that stuff, and sucralose.
That's good. I like that.
I'm all the time coming up with little quibs about the crappy garbage was one I first came up with for carbs. But yeah, most of them you have to get like unreasonably high levels. So they like stuff these rats with like unconscionable amounts, and then they get toxicity. So in the levels of a little bit here, every once in a while, I don't think is going to be the end of the world. Now, that said, I think you should try to opt for the better options if you're going to choose sweeteners rather than just willy-nilly choosing, there's just so many available now. When sucralose was the big boy on the block, I'd say, yeah, okay, maybe a little bit every once in a while. But there's so many better options now. Just choose these better options.
Oh, believe me, and I fought with the distributors of this supplement. I'm like, man, you are going out of your way to make such an amazing product. And then guess what? It actually does have stevia in it too. Like, it already has two sweeteners. It has erythritol and it's stevia. Why in the world would you add sucralose to it?
Yeah.
What do they say?
And they send me papers on the research behind sucralose and the amount that they're using in these products is almost negligible. And they pounded the papers on me.
But you know what you did? You know what you did by speaking up? And I've done this over the years because I've been out here a long time. These companies send me things. I'll tell you the first company that really listened to me that you'll recognize is the Quest company. Quest, when they first came out with their bars, put sucralose in all of their bars when they first came out. So the first 4 or 5 bars, they had sucralose, and they wanted to be a sponsor. And I said, you can't sponsor my podcast until you fix that issue. And they started using stevia erythritol. And do you know? They switched over because I spoke up. So you're welcome. If you've ever had a Quest bar, you're welcome. I was the one that helped influence that.
That's awesome. That's so great. That's how we're able to change the industry. So that's a perfect example. Kudos to you, Jimmy. I love that you did that.
Yeah,
I am pushing these people too because I feel like, they spend so much money on research. And I'm like, boy, and to their credit, they do have the same product without the sucralose. For those that are totally against them, but it doesn't taste as good, of course. Right?
Yeah. So that's when they need to innovate. Maybe look at another sweetener like allulose or something that gives the same mouthfeel, the same sweetness. But I love your general principle, by the way. As much as possible, stay away from those things. It just gets you in trouble.
Oh, yes, it sure does. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Ada. Triple J on deck.
What's going on, dog?
What you got, brother?
Hey, one of my questions got answered already by someone after I got pulled up. So I'm good, but I did want to ask Ben, does he have any success stories with type 2 diabetics under his, his training and all of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, hey, Triple J. Absolutely. So I actually wrote a story in my new book, Keto Flex, about a member of my Keto Camp Academy. Her name is Shannon. And she joined my academy a little over a year ago. And she was type 2 diabetic. She was taking insulin. She was taking blood sugar medication. And within 60 days, working with her doctor, doing the principles that I trained her on, she was able to actually get off both her insulin and her meds. So that was within 60 days. And that's not just one person. It happens time after time. Now, it might not happen that fast. It could take months to years. But I've seen it so often. As long as you continue to remove the interference, stay away from bad fats, because I got to tell you, yes, sugar and carbohydrates will contribute and prevent you from, reversing type 2 diabetes, but bad fats are right up there, maybe even worse, because they inflame those receptor sites for insulin, making insulin a lot harder to do its job. So it's important to identify the frequency of how much you're eating, what you're eating, and making sure you're not getting those bad fats. And Triple J, oh my gosh, the body is absolutely incredible. It will heal. It is this innate intelligence that goes to work for you all the time. So it can be done.
Thank you so much, dog. I appreciate that.
And what you don't know about Triple J, he's only been keto for right around a month, right, Triple J?
Yes, sir. This is day number 25, dog. 25.
Congratulations, dude.
And he is so exciting here in Keto for the Soul. Triple J, you bring a smile to my face every day, brother. Thank you for all that you are. Bree, you're up next. What you got?
Hey guys, my name is Brea.
Oh, Brea, sorry. I took a stab at it.
You're fine, no problem. Like Triple J, I'm also 1 month into keto.
Nice.
Loving it. I'm super happy that we brought up the skin conversation because that is like my only issue with keto. I've been doing Maria Emmerich's 30-day ketogenic cleanse.
Yep.
I'm 29 days into it. Can't believe I made it this far, but it's been great. Other than the fact that I want to scratch myself out of my body every single day. It's gone really bad. Like the last 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks I had no problem. The last 2 weeks have been horrible and nothing helps. And my doctors prescribed me prednisone, and I haven't started it yet because I don't want to do that. I don't think that like it's a steroid issue that I'm going to need the help with. But just hearing what you guys have been saying so far and like asking a clarifying question, I want to take like a couple days break before I continue on her like bonus plan. Would that be like a good time to try to up my carbs in a way like you guys were saying, like sweet potato or some like healthier quote unquote carbohydrates to maybe try to counteract that? I just like don't want this to keep happening.
Can you share what you're eating now so we have context?
Yeah, of course. So Maria's 30-day plan, everything is laid out 100% with meal plans and grocery lists to the T. So it differs every day, every week.
Yeah.
There's been like a lot of bone marrow, ground beef. There's been steaks. This week I've had like her breakfast chili, which has some pork chorizo as well as ground beef, eggs, some avocado here and there, but everything's cooked in like great oils like MCT or coconut. None of the like terrible oils that you guys spoke of earlier. There's been some shrimp days. In my opinion, it's very like clean.
Yeah.
Keto, so to speak. But this rash has been killing me for the last 2 weeks to the point where I can't even sleep because I'm so itchy.
So I'm not hearing anything in there, Ben, like histamines that would be in the foods that she listed.
Yeah, avocados could be one.
Oh, avocados. And even eggs could be problematic for some people.
Yeah.
Could it be problematic for someone who's never had a problem with it before, just out of curiosity?
Yeah, but it was a mixed diet before. Now you've lowered the carbohydrates. It's a different context.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I would also add, and I know that Dr. Caitlin could also add to this conversation, and before she does, your question was, should you have some more carbs for a short period of time? You could do it. If you could time that, I don't know if you're getting a monthly cycle, but if you could time that for the days that are leading up to your period, that would be the best time to actually have those additional carbs. That can make a big difference for you. I would explore Toxicity. Maybe taking some Ion Gut Restore from Zach Bush could be a great thing for your gut to close the tight junctions. ION Gut Health, I think it's called, would be a great product for you. And I also want to hear from Dr. Caitlin. I know she has something to add here.
Go ahead, Dr. Caitlin.
Well, thanks, Ben. Good to see you. And Jimmy, great to actually talk with you. I've been following you, years ago, when you were doing the podcast with Dr. Fung. So thanks for everything you do.
Thank you.
So with regards, it actually sounds more like a detox, like blockage, toxicity issue that you're dealing with, Brea. And so I don't know that necessarily adding increased carbs is going to fix the skin and the rash. I would look more at using binders to help bind up whatever it is that you're releasing. And then making sure that whatever you're changing, you're not changing on top of that, like your laundry detergent and your soaps and using all sorts of other things brand new to you. The other thing I would throw in there is this would probably be a really great time to implement castor oil packs on your liver at night. So the person that I love and think is absolutely amazing at explaining castor oil packs, her name is like the Queen of Thrones, Dr. Marisol. She has a great product, a great book that will explain everything about that. But usually it's like a liver blockage, phase 2 detoxification pathway that isn't open, causing the itching, causing the redness, causing the swelling. So that's where I would start.
Great. Okay, I definitely will look more into that. Thank you.
Thank you, Brea. And Caitlin, you're on. What you got?
I actually, when I jumped on, you guys were talking about Vital Proteins.
Yes.
And I just wanted to let you guys know that they were bought out by Nestle. And so my concern is their quality is going to go down, because I too was recommending them to, you know, all of my clients and my friends, and we were taking it. And so just to keep an eye out on that.
Same with the Primal Kitchen stuff I was talking about earlier. They were bought by Kraft Foods, and good for Mark Sisson making a buck off that. But I think in the contract, and I don't know if Vital Proteins did this, he said, I still want full operational quality control over these things. And so they've stayed. I mean, that sale was 3 years ago, and these products are still good. So fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, and let's hope that that's what Vital Protein did, because they were a really nice, clean product with not a whole lot of stuff in it. So that's good to know. What I wanted to throw in was for the women in the crowd doing keto. I love keto. I do low carb like 90% of the time. But if you are a cycling female, you got to be careful about doing too low carb for too long, because it can absolutely affect specifically your progesterone production, which will completely alter and cause menstrual cycle issues and potentially throw you into early like perimenopause and even menopause. So what I typically recommend is women right around day 17 increasing the healthy carbs. And so when I say healthy carbs, I'm talking like, you know, have the berries, have a piece of fruit, have the sweet potato, eat the squash, you know, get real whole foods. I'm not, you know, recommending adding in grains and cookies and cakes and things like that, but making sure that you are increasing those carbohydrates on those days, just to make sure that you are giving your body enough to make those vital hormones that we need.
Yeah, yesterday I had an expert on who's a nutritionist, Lesha, and she made the same comment that the week before you start your period, you should be eating more carbs. And then the week of your period, go strict keto to kind of normalize that. Do you concur?
Stupid mute button. Yeah, that's pretty close. It depends on what women are dealing with. So if they're having symptoms of low progesterone, like anxiety, depression, feelings of, you know, non-motivation, don't really care, really no like drive, they're just feeling blah, I would actually recommend further than a week before. So, you know, if they're following a 28-day cycle, which most women aren't, but let's use that for ease, right around day 17 is when progesterone is going to start to build.
Okay.
So that's when I would recommend women starting to increase their carbs. But ultimately, the best way to figure that out is for women to, one, track their cycle, and then two, do an ovulation, like the pee sticks, just to find out when you ovulate, because that way you can really customize, you know, your keto flexing. Like Ben likes to talk about it. I talk about like diet diversity, so making sure that you're changing up the foods. So that's where like eating for your cycle, keeping it really low carb, like you said in the beginning, even doing like for those that are fasting, doing like the longer fast, days 1 through 7, fantastic time for that. And then slowly starting to shift as the cycle shifts. So fabulous question, and that's really how I like to teach women how to do it.
Yeah, Rebecca, go.
There, just really quickly too, because I'm glad Caitlin said about the ovulation thing. I just wanted to point out that the first phase of a woman's cycle, the follicular phase, can vary. If you're traveling, if you're sick, if you're under stress, if you're calm. I mean, so that means you can ovulate day 10, you can ovulate day 21. That variation can change month to month. It can change. So really, you know, tracking and finding out when your ovulation is going to be really important, because it's not necessarily day 15 for everyone. I have quite a few women that it's pretty natural for them to ovulate day 20. So if you're trying to like eat around day 15, you know, higher carbs, or like you're missing that window, you wouldn't be able to use that more effectively. And the second thing I wanted to add is I think this conversation is more helpful for women that they know they've been in ketosis for a period of time before they start adding in those days. Because I think it would be really beneficial. I work with women with resetting their hormones, endometriosis, PCOS, thyroid stuff. You've got to know that your body is in ketosis, that you're getting the benefits from that you're becoming a fat burner, that you're burning through your glucose. So at a minimum, 2 to 3, maybe some women do 4 months. And then when you stall out, that's when I find when I'm working with women that it does really well to utilize the carb cycling around ovulation.
Thank you, Rebecca. So, Dr. Caitlin, thank you so much. Appreciate your expertise, and thanks for your kind words for me. Coach Liam, you're up next.
Kia ora, rock stars. It's amazing once again to be up here with you guys and taking my bro keto knowledge to the next level and understanding it more from, like science and medical standpoints. I just wanted to ask a question. I was online, I think it was yesterday or the day before, and they had David Perez up on board, and he was talking about rice bran and the use of rice bran. I think it was in supplement formation, obviously, but the link with that to help decrease insulin resistance. And I don't know much about it, so I was wondering if you guys could share any experience or knowledge on this rice bran conversation.
I have literally never used rice bran. Ben?
Yeah, hey Liam. Me neither. I know that rice bran oil is a bad oil because it's unstable. But as far as using rice bran as an ingredient, I haven't really looked into it or used it myself, so I can't say. I don't know. I'm uncertain about it.
Rebecca, do you have any comments about that?
Not heard of it. No,
Yeah. That's new, Liam. None of it.
This is good because it was the first I had heard of it, and I was like, what? This doesn't sound 100% accurate to me, but I'm no expert and I like to do my research, but there's not a lot online either, so I thought you studs and studettes might know something about it.
Well, remember, it's 2021 and everybody is a keto expert now, so unfortunately.
So true. Yeah, what I would do is I would see what it does to your glucose. I would just start there. Single out that ingredient if you could get it isolated and see what it does to your glucose 30 minutes after. 3 days in a row, and then I would start there if I was experimenting with it.
Thanks, guys. Hey, if I can ask another question, because that was obviously short and sweet. When you guys were talking about using the bitters, Ben, and I forget her name, sorry, was talking about the use of dandelion and dandelion teas, and yourself talking about it a bit. Is there potential for some people with biodiversity that they might have a histamine reaction to dandelion as well?
I'm not sure. That's another good question that I'm not sure about. I haven't looked into the histamine content of dandelion tea. I'm not sure if you have, Jimmy.
I have not. Sure. I need to write histamine clarity someday, apparently.
We need a lot of more clarities out there, Jimmy.
Yes. Liam, thank you so much for your question. Sorry we couldn't help on that last one. Audria.
You're most welcome. I'll keep bringing back questions that are unanswerable, and then I'll try and go find the answers.
No worries, brother. Thank you so much.
Niles wants to add to that conversation. Hey,
Niles, go.
Hey, you guys are rock stars. Appreciate it. I mean, I wanted to chime in on the rice bran conversation.
Thank you.
I mean, deal a lot with insulin resistance and diabetes of all different cultures. I did want to share an experience I had with a female patient of ours. Started out as an insulin patient, type 2 diabetes, very aggressive, and she got off all her medications except for some high blood pressure. And she's of Indian culture. And one day she came to me with a kind of Indian remedy of a flat, she called it a flat rice powder, mainly because she was dealing with some incontinence issues. And it was a trick that they had used in the Indian culture to help deal with that, right? Is how it was passed down to her. My concern, of course, was was it going to trigger her insulin resistance? Was it going to make our results more difficult? And the one thing I would share is for this individual, it actually really did not affect her blood sugars and insulin levels negatively, but it did assist in her balancing some of her incontinence. So maybe not a direct response to the rice bran question, but one thing that I was questioning with this flat rice kind of powdered flat rice remedy from Indian cultures, maybe a little something to look into, but I thought it was kind of an interesting little share.
Thank you
Very interesting. Yeah, that's so. Fascinating. Dr. Niles. Dr. Niles is the husband of Dr. Caitlin, by the way. So
Yes.
they were both on here.
I could see the picture in the picture there.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Audrey, we didn't mean to skip over you. What you got for us, sweetie?
Oh, no problem. I have a question. So you were talking about cycles, and I'm sorry if I missed it. I've been in and out because of work, but I had a problem with my keto stalling and not having weight loss. And I don't have a cycle, and I'm a woman of a certain age. And I was wondering if you have any tips, or if you've worked with women who no longer cycle, so that's not a factor, but maybe there are other factors that we need to be aware of. So that's my question.
Yeah, I'd love to touch upon that, Audrey. So in my book, Keto Flex, I actually have an entire chapter on keto for women, and I talk about the cycling women, perimenopause, menopause, and then postmenopause. So when you're postmenopausal, it's important to understand that, and I know you know this, but the ovaries now are not doing its job. And the ovaries actually are the highest concentration of mitochondria in females. And it's 100,000 mitochondria in a single cell in the ovaries, which is amazing. But it also helps you produce progesterone and other hormones. So that gets shut down. Now your adrenals and your body fat actually make up for that. So at this point in the time, it's important to understand, number one, you're going to be more insulin resistant. Number two, you got to make sure your stress is just mastered with maybe some yoga, meditation. Also increasing your protein to help build some lean muscle could help. But I like the 5-1-1 rule for somebody who's postmenopausal. It's a 7-day protocol. How it works is 5 days out of the week, you're doing keto and you're following an intermittent fasting schedule, maybe like a 16-8 or an 18-6. That's for 5 days. One day, you complete a 24-hour fast to get more of the gut reset, more of the autophagy. Then that final one is a flex day, a keto flex day, where you don't practice fasting. You have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you have a higher healthy carbs, higher protein, lower fat, around 150 grams of healthy carbs. So that 5-1-1 protocol, combine that with the mastering your stress protocol, making sure your sleep is good, and doing some strength training could be just tremendous for postmenopausal women.
Thank you. And is that 5-1-1, is that covered in your book as well?
It is. And credit, by the way, goes to my mentor, Dr. Pampa, who taught me that. He has it in his book, Beyond Fasting, if you want to get access to that right now. But when mine comes out in a month, it's in there. It's in there. I also have it on my YouTube channel. If you just type in Keto Camp or Keto Flexing on YouTube, you should see a video on it.
Thank you so much. Thank you both. Have a great day.
Thank you, Audrey. And I love how this do's and don'ts isn't so axiomatic for like everybody. Like, do for some people, don't for other people, the same thing. So it's like, I love that you're bringing in these different aspects, Ben.
Oh, absolutely. It's so important, Jimmy. As you know, we're all unique and we have different circumstances. So we got to talk about it that way.
Yeah. So when I refreshed, Andy, you popped back up. So you're up. If you're there, Andy, going once. Andy, go. Oh, there he is.
No, I'm here. Sorry. My fault. My question is about fasting and the importance of getting into keto before a fast, a prolonged fast, so not an intermittent fast.
Yeah, definitely get into a well-formulated ketogenic diet before you even think about fasting, unless you like pain, right, Ben?
Oh, yeah. It's gonna be tough if you go into it without being in ketosis. I agree.
Yeah.
It's similar to you wouldn't run a marathon tomorrow without training for it. Well, a longer fast is the same way. You gotta build up the fasting muscle and like Jimmy said, a well-formulated ketogenic approach going into it. Not only that, you'll feel better, but you also get autophagy faster. You'll get much more benefits faster than if you went into it without being metabolically flexible. It'll look ugly. It'll be very challenging.
That would be a cool title for a book. Fast Faster.
or like a YouTube video or an article, right?
Yes. Speaking of fasting, I'm going to probably lead one here on Clubhouse soon, you guys. So try to do a 7-day fast. So if you're interested in an extended fast, I have a lot of experience with it, and we'll definitely do like a daily update coming up real soon. So stay tuned.
That's a brilliant idea, Jimmy. Awesome. I love that.
Yes. Dr. Niles, you're up now.
I just appreciate you guys wanted to give that little bit. I don't have any questions that I can take up from other people, so go ahead and move on, and
Well, we only have one left. If you have any thoughts.
I think the biggest thing, and I came in a little late, so not knowing anything, but I know so many of the people that we talk with in our different programs and businesses and around fasting, insulin resistance, diabetes, and there's so much frustration when people hit the wall, they hit the plateau, they can't get past that next point. And I know I was hearing some conversation on food diversity, sounds like clean oils, which I'm so glad that was talked about. But I find the one thing that is so astounding to me is I go, okay, what are your ketones? What are your blood sugars? And people are like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, how long have you been doing keto? Oh, about a year and a half. And I was like, how do you know if you're actually doing keto if you don't know what your ketones are, right? So I think it's so important, especially if you're hitting that platform, make the investment, get some keto strips, get some blood sugar strips, maybe get some testing done, and know what your numbers are, because sometimes that just opens the door and it makes it so obvious once you start looking at those numbers and all that pain that you could have gone through could have been avoided. That's maybe a main share.
Although I will push back. I think early on getting that feedback of testing your ketones is good. And this is a do and don't for me, Ben. Like when you first start ketosis, I think it's an absolute do to test either blood ketones for that beta hydroxybutyrate level. They do have some pretty nice little devices now. I got some fancy schmancy one, BioSense is what it's called, that you can blow in, and it's a 10-to-1 ratio of the acetone in the breath to beta hydroxybutyrate levels. So at first, I think it's wonderful. And if you could get one of those ones where it's less painful, definitely. But a year and a half in, Dr. Niles, I think at that point, if your goal is higher ketones, you might be disappointed. And what I've found in my own experience doing this for many years is over time, the production of ketones that I have in my body, I'm using that production pretty efficiently so that it doesn't show up on a blood ketone meter as amazing ketosis, and yet I feel all those subjective benefits that I am in a state of nutritional ketosis.
No, and I agree, and I'm glad you said it that way because maybe some clarification is needed. I talk to some people that have been telling me they've been following the keto diet for a year and a half, and they've never looked at their numbers.
Yeah, that's not good.
Right, so and that's, no, I completely agree, because I would even add it in there, maybe what you're saying is, in the beginning, right, I almost say you don't even have to start testing right away, but once you get in the flow of it, start knowing your numbers, right, because when you know your numbers, then it makes it easier, you know what you're feeling. What I'm talking about is I get people farther into the process that have never checked, right, and even if you've checked in the beginning, kind of knowing what your numbers are and how you're feeling in certain situations, taking another look at them to see if they're still in that range or if they're still getting the benefits, even though slightly adjusted maybe. That's kind of what I mean, is know your numbers, right? And I think we're on the same page there. No, I wouldn't expect you to continue to do it a year and a half in.
Yeah.
But, at least know what they are.
When I wrote Keto Clarity, I did an acronym for keto, and the T was test ketones often. So when you first start, you should be doing that.
Yes.
And urine strips don't count.
That's right.
Maybe the first week or two, but after that, they're totally useless. All right, thank you, Dr. Niles. And Shiva, sorry for making you wait so long, but you're the last up, my dear. What you got?
Hey, guys. Thank you for having me here.
Hey.
I have a quick question. I saw that your title is really interesting. I've been doing the keto and low-carb for about 4 years right now. I'm really happy with it. But so many, when you're doing something for so long and you have a success story, so many people reach out to you. And so many people reached out to me and asked me about, we did the ketogenic diet, but we saw our cholesterol is going high and all those stuff. So I looked into what they're eating, and I saw that they're eating a lot of saturated fat, more than they need to. I just want to know, because you guys are all professional in this field, I just want to know what is your recommendation for the amount of saturated fat that we can eat during during doing keto and low carb diet. What would be the good amount that we can eat? So I did some research. I saw 20 grams of saturated fat, but I just want to know what's your thought and what's based on your experience and your studies and research?
Right.
What are you thinking?
I think it's impossible, Ben, to come up with an across the board, this is what everybody should do for saturated fat. I think some people are going to do very well with much higher than 20 grams a day. And some people, maybe 20 grams would be ideal. It's bio-individual, just like everything else with keto. We try to think keto, and like you said at the very beginning of this conversation, keto is a metabolic state. Whatever it takes to get you in that metabolic state. So if it means higher saturated fat, there's certainly no harms when it comes to your cardiovascular health. I've talked about that for years until I'm blue in the face. What say you, Ben?
Yeah, it was a great question. It is a great question, Shiva, so thank you. And Jimmy has a book all about this called Cholesterol Clarity. There is no number, like Jimmy said, for the saturated fat. What I would look at that's more important than just looking at total cholesterol is looking at the entire lipid profile, right? To get a full picture and then compare that with the inflammatory markers. Because what rules is oxidation. There's high amounts of the LDL, small sticky particles, in combination with high amounts of inflammation, and you're having a lot of saturated fat. That would mean you probably want to taper down the saturated fat. Maybe there's some bad fat slipping in there. Maybe there's some sugar creeping in there. But it's important to get a full panel done. Look at C-reactive, high sensitivity C-reactive protein, good inflammatory marker, homocysteine, A1C, fasting insulin, fibrinogen, and then getting a full cholesterol panel done with HDL, LDL, LDL particles, and triglycerides. I know this is a complex answer, but it's a complex question because total cholesterol, by the way, doesn't give you any data. In fact, more people die with normal to low cholesterol. So let me rephrase that. More people die from heart disease with normal to low cholesterol than with high cholesterol. Saturated fat cholesterol is protective for the body. If you look at the cells, the cell membrane is made up of saturated fat and cholesterol. The brain, saturated fat and cholesterol. The body loves fat. It makes our sex hormone. So it's not the bad guy. But when you have inflammation present with too much lipids, too much LDL, then that's a problem. Then you want to kind of look at what you're eating, how much you're eating, and tailor it down. So I know that was a complex answer, but I really hope it was helpful for you, Shiva.
Well, and this is why I like
That was great. That was great, actually. And do you guys think genetic background also have a role in here? Because some people have some genetic background of like having high cholesterol and stuff like that. That they tolerance for saturated fat would be different from other people.
This is where ApoE genotype comes into play. So if you're a 2-4 or 4-4, there's going to be different requirements based on that. So yeah, like Ben said, incredibly complex topic to try to address in a short little answer here. But to answer your question, yes. But I think epigenetic expression of eating saturated fats within the context of a lower carbohydrate intake, far different beast than higher saturated fat with a higher carb intake.
Thank you so much. Thanks. That all makes sense.
Thank you, Shiva. And thank you guys for joining us here today for the do's and don'ts of keto with my bud, Ben Azadi. Thank you so much for being here today, buddy.
Jimmy, love you, man. Thank you so much for the invite. Had a great time with you. Go follow Jimmy if you're not doing it already. He's such a stud.
Dude, and Keto Camp, if you're not already following his videos and his podcast and his Instagram page, his Keto Flex book coming out very soon. Ben, you are a wealth of knowledge. I love you because like every time I talk to you, I get some new little nugget, little turn of phrase that I go, ooh, that's kind of cool. I like that. Like I've done that for years, but hearing someone else do it, it's a lot of fun.
Oh, that speaks volumes, man, because you've been in the game for a while, and I feel the same way about you, Jimmy. I appreciate you and the work you've done. You're just a pioneer in the space, so thank you so much for that acknowledgement. And I had such a blast today, dude. We have to do it again sometime soon.
Yes, Clubhousers, this Keto for the Soul Room, they are amazing. Love you all, guys. Go to the top of the page, click on that green house, and subscribe to Keto for the Soul. My name's Jimmy Moore, and I'm going to put on the screen for the people on Instagram of the upcoming recording schedule. So I've got an interview with Vivica Menegaz at 1 p.m. Today, and then tomorrow I get to talk to Sean Croxton, who is Ben's mentor, all about the health entrepreneur mindset. On Saturday morning at 10:30, I'm going to have the Ask the Ketogenic Pharmacist about ketogenic diets and any medications you're taking, about how they could contraindicate one another. So guys, I am loaded for bear. Click on my bio to keep up. I'm constantly updating new interviews that I have coming up. But thank you so much for joining today, and we'll see you around the clubhouse.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Jimmy.
Bye, guys.